Episode 2, Places You Don't Go. There were two kinds of rules in Terrace Gardens. The ones the adults said out loud, and the ones nobody explained. The second kind were the ones that actually mattered. Nobody held meetings about them, nobody wrote them on paper, but everybody knew them. What streets to avoid, what buildings not to walk through, what corners belong to who, and most importantly, what places you weren't supposed to show up in if you weren't from the way. The second day of summer started loud, which means it was normal. The basketball court was already packed. Dre was arguing about a foul. Peanut was talking trash to somebody twice his size. JoJo was trying to convince people his latest hustle idea would change the economy at Terrace Gardens. And I was sitting on the steps with my notebook. No writing, just watching. I had started realizing something lately. Everybody outside seemed to know exactly who they were supposed to be. Dre was the loud one. JoJo was the hustler. Peanut was the little wild one. But me, sometimes it felt like I was just observing everybody else's story, trying to figure out where mine started. Charlie, Dre yelled, "You writing a book about us again?" I'm thinking, that's worse. Peanut pointed at my notebook. He gonna stitch on all us when he famous. JoJo laughed. First of all, we gotta survive being dumb before we get famous. That part was probably true. Across the courtyard, Jose was fixing a street light that had been broken for weeks. He looked up at a basketball game and shook his head. Y'all arguing like the NBA scouts watching. Maybe they are, Dre yelled. Jose laughed. Then they leaving disappointed. A few minutes later, Peanut came flying down the sidewalk on his bike. Fast, too fast. The kind of fast that meant he had done something stupid. He skidded to a stop in front of us. Hey, young. He was breathing hard. I just rolled past Overton Hills. Nobody reacted. That wasn't impressive, but I kept going. Now JoJo looked up. Going where? Peanut lowered his voice like he was revealing a secret. Towards the courts. Everybody got quiet. Palace Courts. Two giant apartment towers that looked like they had been dropped in the middle of the neighborhood by mistake. Even from Terrace Gardens, you could see them. 20 floors tall, gray, cold, and full of stories people told kids not to test, even if nobody explained why. Dre stood up immediately. You lying. I'm serious, Peanut said. What happened, JoJo asked. Peanut grinned. Nothing. Dre looked down the street, then back at us. Man, let's go. I already knew where this was heading. Man, go where? The sea. That's dumb. That's curiosity. That's how people get punched. Dre shrugged. Charlie, you scared. It wasn't fear exactly. It was that feeling again. That quiet voice in the back of my mind that showed up sometimes. The one that didn't shout, it just asked questions. Why are we going? What are we trying to prove? And is this really your road? But saying that out loud to Dre would have started a whole different argument. So I stood up. Fine. The walk didn't take long, but every block felt different. Terrace Gardens had noise, kids outside, music, people moving. And as we got closer to Palace Courts, things got quieter. Too quiet. The towers looked bigger the closest we got, like the buildings themselves were watching us. Kids rode bikes slowly through the lot. They weren't playing. They weren't observing. JoJo leaned towards me. This place feel weird. Peanut whispered. You think they know we from the way? Dre shrugged. Ain't nobody worried about that. Right then behind us, somebody said, Hey, y'all lost? We turned around. 3 older boys stood near the entrance. They didn't look angry. They didn't look friendly either. Just aware. One of them stepped forward. Hey, you from Terrace Gardens? Nobody answered. The silence says a lot. He nodded slowly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Dre stepped forward a little. Man, we just riding bikes. The boy smiled. We'll ride somewhere else. Nobody moved. And that's when you could feel the tension. Not violent, not yet. Just a kind of moment where everybody understood how fast things could change. Then somebody across the lot shouted, Yo! A car rolled slowly through the parking lot When the door opened and Malik stepped out, everything shifted. Malik didn't yell, didn't run, didn't even look angry. He just walked towards us calmly. The boys near the building stepped back slightly. Malik looked at us, then looked back towards the direction of Terrace Gardens. "You boys lost?" Nobody answered. Malik nodded, then said 2 words. "Go home." No threats, no speech, just certainty. And something about the way he said it made us feel less like an order and more like a warning. The walk back was quiet. Nobody bragged, nobody joked. Even Dre seemed thoughtful. When we reached Terrace Gardens, the noise returned instantly. Kids yelling, music playing, Nato arguing with Tony about whether pigeons were government spies, Jose still fixing that same street light. Life had continued like we never left. Dre finally spoke. "That place weird." Jojo nodded. "I ain't going back." Peanut smiled. "Man, I might." I sat back on the steps, opened my notebook and started writing. In my journal, I wrote, "Some lines in life are obvious. Good, bad, right, wrong. But some lines aren't drawn to keep people out. They're drawn to keep people safe. Sometimes the reason something inside of you tells you to turn around is because God already sees where the road leads. Maybe the real wisdom isn't being brave enough to cross every line. Maybe it's being wise enough to know which ones you weren't meant to cross."